Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk with Eddie, presented by Our Time Press. We are live in a warm day in Brooklyn, and the reason why I say warm is because when it's 40 degrees in February, that's probably considered warm, considering what we've been going through for the past 2 weeks. But hopefully, as far as the Brooklyn weather, we got that out the way because, I'm a particular person where I have a high tolerance of cold weather, but I think I can all agree, and I speak for everybody out there. It's been pretty brutal to say the least, man. Really bad. Um, we got a lot to cover today. We got some breaking news from the NBA as far as Adam Silver on a ruling as far as tanking goes. USA women's hockey in the Olympics. I know there was people getting on me talking about like, "Yo, you're not giving no love to the Winter Olympics." It's all right, all right. I'll give you. They always say you got to give the people what they want, right? So we're gonna give the people what they want. We're gonna get into some USA women's hockey as far as them playing in today's game, the gold medal game. Obviously, we got spring training is around the corner, so we're gonna get into some Yankee talk. And the second half of the NBA season kicks off tonight, so we definitely gotta talk about Knicks and Nets if we can get through it all. But once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Please like and subscribe to the Our Time Praise YouTube channel. As you well know by now, we are live every Thursday at 5 o'clock on the dot. And we do have call-ins. 917-319-5481 is that number to dial. Chop it up with your boy. Let's get into some good old-fashioned New York sports, shall we? Got a lot to cover. So we're going to dive right into the breaking news that I was talking about. We just got this information right when we went on live, and it's from the NBA. So Commissioner Adam Silver has informed the league's all 30 of the league's managers that the NBA plans to make an anti-tanking rule changes for next season, which I think this is going to be a good thing because sometimes you see certain teams in the league where it's just too obvious that they're tanking and they're trying to, basically tanking is just these teams who are trying to solidify themselves to put themselves as far as being in a better predicament as far as getting better draft capital. Now, obviously, this year that will probably be more of an intensifying thing to do as far as teams tanking, sort of, because let's just face it, this is probably the best freshman class that the NBA has ever seen, and this is probably going to be one of the best draft class in general that the NBA has seen in some time. But definitely the best freshman class. You got AJ Dembonsta from BYU. I do apologize if I said that name incorrectly. Darren Peterson from Kansas, who hasn't really made the greatest news within the past 24 hours. And obviously my boy Cam Boozer from Duke, amongst other players, other freshmen who are just dominating college basketball this year. Really exciting. But listen, you gotta, it's tough, and I don't really like to use the word tanking. I feel like tanking is a little too nice. Because it gets obvious once you get towards the first or second half of the season. You can almost see when a team is just making ways to tank or to just forfeit games. That's pretty much what I'm seeing and how I go about it. Whether it's a team making a series of moves to clear cap space, that I understand. But the other side of it is like, okay, well, you can see that the season is pretty much given up upon, considering the fact that the season is almost done and they're pretty much out of the race as far as playoff contention goes. And I think this is where I was going back and forth with a couple of viewers as far as the Nets. I know a lot of people's like, man, we could have got something for Cam Boozer. Oh, excuse me, he was already in my head now. Cam Thomas. But the thing is, as great and fascinating of an offensive player Cam Thomas is, he lacks on the defensive end. And I think that's where it comes to as far as the trade market value goes for Cam Thomas. Now, theoretically speaking, I was hoping that we could at least get a second-round draft pick for him, but obviously the Brooklyn Nets elected to waive him and give him an opportunity to go to a team. He then decided to sign with the Milwaukee Bucks. And listen, from a guy, from a Net fan that's seen Cam Thomas drafted a couple of years ago out of LSU, and to see him bloom the way he has as being one of the best scorers or one of the most exciting scorers in the NBA, it was a tough pill to swallow. But on my end, I was happy we kept Nick Claxton, because Nick Claxton is another guy that, the Nets drafted out of college back in 2019. Obviously, I think Michael Porter Jr., and I've said this within the past 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe even longer than that, Michael Porter Jr. should have been an All-Star this year. The numbers don't lie. I think what a lot of people were thinking is that, considering what Cam Johnson ability is, that maybe he would have the better season, considering the fact that he was going to take the load off of Jokic and players like Jamal Murray. That so far hasn't been the case. Johnson has been decimated by injury so far this year, whereas Michael Porter Jr., even though he has dealt with an injury of late, he has shot the ball at an all-time best, at a career best. The three-point shot, it seems like he just hits at least three-pointers a game. I guess you want to put that in your parlay. I don't know. But nevertheless, I'm so glad that they decided to keep him in the fold as well as Nick Claxton, because, from a small sample standpoint, those are two players that I think that you can at least cover your franchise around as far as building. You got the sharpshooter and the playmaking ability of Michael Porter Jr. Nick Claxton is having a career year as far as rebounds and assists is going. He's basically shown that he has more of a layer, not only on the defensive purposes, but offensively. Now, is Nick Claxton a guy that's going to score you 20 a night? No, but he can get you 8 to 10 rebounds. He'll get you a blocked shot. I think he has a career high in assists too. So the fact that he has taken the necessity to expand his game offensively says a lot to his commitment, not only to the craft of basketball, but just to the Brooklyn Nets organization. So shout out to Nick Claxton, man, for always running and always looking for ways to improve your game, man. Definitely something that Nets fans should be hopeful about. Yegor Doman. Yegor Doman is a name that nobody was talking about. I watched a lot of his highlights on the international scene. This guy has box office ability. He's 6'8". He can shoot the 3-ball shot, and he has that tendency of being a wizard-making passer. I'm not saying that he's going to be like a Jason Kidd or anything like that. Not right off the back, obviously. But if he ends up being someone like a Rajon Rondo who could score, I'll take it. Especially the stature of his size. I think, his position is point guard. So you look at the stature and his size right there, that's going to be great for Brooklyn moving forward, to have a point guard of that size being able to run the team for years and years to come. So as I said a couple of weeks ago, I did not mind that the Nets really didn't do much as far as giving away Michael Porter Jr. I think with the season that Michael Porter Jr. has had, theoretically speaking, I think Brooklyn was active for at least a number 1 or number 2. And I don't know if there were any teams out there that were reluctant to give him that. But, he was a former first-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the first year that we see him out of the shadows for Murray, out of the shadows for Jokic, and we got him. Basically, the floor is his right now. And, he's scoring 25 points a game. I believe he's close to 40% from the three-point line this year, a little bit higher than that. So for the Brooklyn Nets standpoint, the future can only get better. And, if they're going to end up landing one of those top prospects that I can get. I think 1 through 10. I think anybody who lands between 1 and 10 in this draft is going to be happy, and this could potentially be franchise player for those respective teams. Generational, I don't know. I think there's a difference between generational and franchise player. Generational is somebody that we're going to talk about for years and years to come, whereas franchise, we're going to talk about that particular person doing this type of work for that franchise, hopefully within the next 8 to 10 years. So that's the difference, in my opinion. That's the difference between franchise and generational players. So I think that's what I see as far as Brooklyn. And listen, I've said this time and time again. As far as the Brooklyn Nets, this is going to be a process. This is going to be a rebuild. But I do think that it's going to be – this is a rare sight for Brooklyn because usually rebuilding process take 3 years tops. I think next year with who they're able to bring in as far as free agency and obviously the draft, we all know they got a handful of draft picks, especially first-round draft picks within the next 7 drafts ahead. So it could be it should be bright times for Brooklyn and general manager Sean Marks to see how he's able to correlate the future of the Brooklyn Nets as we look forward to the Brooklyn Nets. But as far as this year, obviously, it's very it's unlikely that the team will make the playoffs. But I think if you're a Net fan, you're just looking for progress. You're just looking to see them fight. You don't want to see a team that goes out and you just say like, damn, like, yeah, well, this is a team that looks like they're tanking. And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because a part of me is like, you know what? I don't mind that, the team is losing some of these games because, number one, it's not a flock of talent within that roster the way it's constructed right now. I'm not saying that there isn't any talent, but talent as far as a playoff caliber team, they're not there right yet. They're not there right yet. So I don't mind that if it solidifies us getting a top 5 pick in the draft. And the other side of me is like, listen, man, you go out there, and Herm Edwards said it the best a couple of years ago as a Jets head coach. You play to win the game. So I think if we, theoretically speaking, if you see that from Net fans as far as just the effort and the hustle, I think we could put a bow on this season and be like, you know what? I'm okay with this season. We went out there, we fought, we had some excitement with Michael Porter Jr., Yegor Doman, Nick Claxton. Day'Ron Sharpe has been nothing short of astronomical within the past 10 to 15 games. So I like where this Nets team is going. It looks good, but there's still a whole lot of body of work. We're just now seeing the introduction when it comes to this Brooklyn Nets team. So I'm just, for Net fans out there, this is a waiting process. And we all knew that this waiting process was going to be this long. So we just got to see how it plays out and just enjoy the rest of Nets basketball. All right? So, yeah, before I get into the Knicks, I do have to shout out the U.S. women's hockey team winning gold today by a score of 2-1 against Team Canada. And obviously, Team Canada, from as far as Olympic standpoint, that's kind of like Yankees, Red Sox. That's kind of like Duke, North Carolina. So it's always good when you can defeat them in any type of sport, especially on the Olympic stage. So shout out to USA women's hockey. Please, guys, do not beat me up. I'm giving you guys love. I'm giving the Olympic stage love. And shout out to Megan Keller. She was the player that scored the game-winning overtime goal to solidify the U.S. victory for the United States team. Alyssa Liu wins a gold medal as far as figure skating, and is the first American to win gold medal in figure skating since Sarah Hughes in 2002. So shout out to Alyssa Liu for bringing gold back home. Good stuff from the United States athletic teams in Olympic play. Now we're gonna jump in and we're gonna talk about the Knicks. But just before we get to the Knicks, just go over some second half accolades. There's a lot going into the second half, and there's a lot of question marks that have yet to be answered. That probably won't be answered until the end of the season. But I look at a Golden State Warriors team. Is this the last rodeo for Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, and Draymond Green as a trio together? Steve Kerr is he's pretty much an expiring contract year. He does not have any years after this year. So, and we all know Steve Kerr is one of the most decorated players as for winning. He's definitely one of the most decorated coaches that we have seen in a while. But his contract is done after this year. It's no question mark, and I don't even think he knows at this point, as far as hearing any rumblings about the team willing to bring him back. I know he is finishing off a 2-year, $35 million extension that he had signed with the team back then. So it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird. There's certain things that you see in sports where it's like, you know what, that just goes together. Jordan in the Bulls uniform, that just goes together. Kobe in a Lakers uniform, that just goes together. Patrick Ewing, in a Knicks uniform, that just goes together. And you're seeing Steve Kerr in a Warriors uniform, and it's to even think about this could be the end for these two, for him and his time in Golden State, it's kind of weird. Draymond Green is another question mark. He has a 27.6 player option for this year. It's still to be determined whether he will take that contract, take that option, or decline it and elect to go to free agency. Green, I think, is 32, 33 years old. So he's a little bit past the heyday as far as his career goes, but Draymond Green has been the heart and soul of the Warriors team. Yeah, we could talk about Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter I've ever seen. You could put Reggie, Allen, but definitely Steph Curry is number one. Greatest shooter I've ever seen. He ain't going nowhere. And I think he reported the other day that he's not retiring anytime soon. And I hope that's the case, because a talent of that and just his shooting ability is such a beautiful thing to walk. It's like a damn Picasso. So Draymond Green, I don't know. Here's another question mark, because, and I think he doesn't get the fair ending of the stick. Yes, he comes with, the theoretics, the dramatics, and stuff like that. He could sometimes be a pain in the ass. But at the end of the day, his defense is nothing short but impeccable for that team. He gets people going, and his playmaking ability has been nothing short of miraculous, especially with that championship window. So this could be the last ending of that championship window, and it's going to be sad to see, because, I grew up, obviously, the people watching at home, as far as like the mid-'90s, obviously, mid-'90s, we're talking the Bulls in the 90s and stuff like that, where they had Jordan, Pippen, Harper, Kukoc, Steve Kerr, that team, Rodman, of course. It's a good team, a really good team, and probably one of the best teams that we have seen. But this Warriors team, 73-9 record, I think, in 2015. Correct me if I'm wrong with the year, but best team that we have ever seen statistically. You talk about the 2000 Lakers, powerhouse of Kobe and Shaq, Robert Horry, Derek Fisher, Rick Fox. That team, amazing, amazing team. So when you see dynasties, that fall apart, it's saddening and it's heartbreaking to say the least, man. But if this is the end of the trio of Steve Kerr, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, what a hell of a run it was to just sit back and just watch those guys go to work, man. And again, I hope that it's not, but again, with Kerr, coaching on an expiring year. Draymond Green player option is not a guarantee that he is going to accept that player option. But we'll see what just happens moving forward. But until then, it's just we're just gonna enjoy this version of the Golden State Warriors. What I was hoping is that they will find a way to lure back in my boy Klay Thompson. I think we all want to see Klay Thompson, at least towards the end of his career, back in the Warriors uniform and reunite the Splash Brothers one more time. I want to see that, man. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that want to see that. Is this the last year of LeBron James? Now, I'm not going to go on a rant and tell you guys, how meaningful LeBron James has been to the league and things of that nature. You guys know the statistics. Number one in the NBA in scoring, 23 seasons, the longest of anybody to play that long, to be this effective and this consistent and this elite at his age with the mileage that he has had in his body. You got to just tip your hat off to the man, You got to tip your hat off to the guy. And that's another question mark because, it's insane, man, because he could still demand $15-20 million if he elects free agency at 42, which is insane. But I do believe this may be the last year for him as a Laker. I heard no indications from any reports about this potentially being his last year, nor did I hear him on any interview reiterate that or even, hint that that's what it was. He basically just saying right now, I don't know, which is a perfect way to tell the media and everybody else, like, hey, I'm just focusing on my teammates this year and the rest of this year. So, yeah, I get that, why that wasn't being said in full. But the more information that we don't know, the more curiosity that it brings to the possibility of that happening with LeBron James, potentially this being his last year. I think it will be the last for him in a Lakers uniform. I ultimately, just to have that storybook ending and that retirement world tour that a lot of greats usually do when they're at the end of the road. I see him in a Cleveland Cavaliers uniform and just trying to have one more run with them, and it's going to be amazing to see. Because then ultimately you're going to have LeBron James, Donovan Mitchell, and James Harden in the same team. Now, whether that works or whether that comes into fruition is remain to see. But a player like him comes once in a generation. We all know that. So if this is, man, shout out to LeBron James. We hope we get to see as much of you this year. I know he's been going through a little injury here and there and stuff like that. I know within the history, at least the past 2-3 years, he's been bothered by a foot injury. But I always say, listen, you gotta appreciate greatness when you see it. And that's exactly what he is. So shout out to LeBron James, and we'll see what this Lakers team is made of. They're currently 5th in the Western Conference, so they're not scrubs. You got a good roster there, with you got him, obviously, Luka Doncic. We'll see what Luka Doncic, how quick he is to come back with the hamstring injury that he was going through. You got Rui Hachimura, you got Austin Reeves. So you got a nice little nucleus with the Lakers team. The question is how far they can go, and what I believe is a 2-team race in the Western Conference. I think it all leads down, well, let's just say 3, because you got OKC and San Antonio, who I think are going to be the top. But we can't forget about Denver. I think when Denver is healthy and when they got all those pieces together with the return of Aaron Gordon and when Jokic is right, I think they're going to be a good team to watch for. We can't talk about the second half of the season and not talk about the New York Knicks. And I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. This is the best chance in 30 years that the Knicks have had to make the finals. Now, obviously, predicting the finals, like I said, If you guys roll back, I think a few weeks back when the NBA season started, I did have the Knicks and the Nuggets in the NBA Finals. Obviously, I wish I could change that, but I'm gonna man up about it. I'm gonna stick with my prediction. But the way the East is constructed right now, we don't know what Boston's gonna be. I do think if Boston has the ability to get Jason Tatum back, even a 75% Jason Tatum, that's going to loom as havoc to the Eastern Conference, because I do think, even though in the standings they're only 2 spots away from Detroit, I do think Boston Celtics, based on their championship caliber experience, are a better team than the Detroit Pistons. Which leads me to tonight's game. The New York Knicks will kick off the second half of the season against the Detroit Pistons. And let's just say those 2 meetings have not been pretty at all. The first meeting they had in Detroit back in January, Detroit demolished them by 31. Then they had another meeting on February where Detroit beat them up by 38. Now, it's easy to go and be like, you know what, man? Detroit scares me. You know, you guys remember those Los Angeles, those Sacramento Kings in the 2000s, where they had Mike Bibby, Vlade Divac, Corliss Williamson, Bobby Jackson, Doug Christie, Chris Webber. A good damn team. A good team. A good regular season team. But for some reason, it seemed like when they ran into the Lakers, it was almost like the Lakers was the Kings' kryptonite. Now, I guess it's too early to determine that as far as like a Knicks pitching standpoint. And don't get me wrong, the pitchers are good. They're good, and they're young, and they're only gonna keep coming. They're gonna at least be around for the next 5 years. That's how good they are, especially being led by superstar Kate Cunningham. They're gonna be right there. They're going to be right there in the mix. But I think this is one of the most important regular season games that the Knicks have to have, just to get the monkey off their back and say, you know what, we can beat this team. As good as they are, we can beat this team. And once you have that momentum and confidence going on, we can beat this team. But the thing is with this Knicks team, and I believe it's been their Achilles heel all year long, is what is this Knicks team if Jalen Brunson is not having an off game? So with that, we're going to hit the calls right now. We got a call. Good evening. You're with Sports Talk. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, Eddie. How's it going? This is Bobby.
It's going on, Bobby. Thank you for calling.
Hey, absolutely. I just, wanted to call in so we can, talk about the Knicks, on Eddie Sports Talk.
Yes, sir.
So I know I was supposed to call in probably a little bit early, but I had
listen. The fact that you call in, there's no timetable. The fact that you call in means a lot, man. What's on your mind, Bobby?
All right. Well, let's talk Knicks. Let's tell me what do you think the Knicks? What do you think of the Knicks so far for the first half of the season?
Well, as I alluded to within the past couple of weeks in the podcast, I said that this is, and I just said it like 5 minutes ago, this is the best chance the Knicks have at a finals appearance. There's no excuse. Barring any health, there is no excuse. And the fact of the matter is, they got even better at the trade deadline. Obviously, you add a guy like Jose Alvarado, who's a defensive menace, brings energy, and he's a thoroughbred New Yorker, Brooklynite. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Jose Alvarado. You bring that type of energy and tenacity, it only makes the Knicks better, and is a perfect backup nucleus to Jalen Brunson. They also got Jeremy Sohan, who's a defensive guru in his own mind as far as defensive goes, and toughness. I think if you really look back at those Knicks, and Bobby, you could allude to this, those Knicks teams in the 90s, excuse me, those Knicks team in the 90s, Anthony Mason, You had John Starks, Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley. But what made Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley so special? They were tough and they weren't afraid to put you on your ass. And I think that's exactly what you get from Sochan, and you get that tough tenacity from Alvarado. And the thing that makes me happy about those acquisitions is that these guys want to be here.
Right.
Remember, Alvarado was pretty much dying over there in New Orleans. New Orleans is one of the worst, if not the worst team in the Western Conference. Sochan, I think with Sochan, it's just the combination wasn't good. Like the fit wasn't there as far as like the coaching scheme, hence why his minutes were down. And for San Antonio, it's not. Listen, Sochan is not a guy that's going to give you 25 a night. That's just not what he does. Sochan's game is theoretically clean up the boards, be a pest, get a steal or two, and just create havoc on the defensive end and to create toughness. So I think, and maybe this is a limb, and this is not a shot at those Knicks 90s team, but I think adding Alvarado, Anunoby, and Sochan, this could be this year's version of that Oakley, of that Anthony Mason teams from back in the day. Now, the thing that worries me, Bobby, is this. Karl-Anthony Towns seemed like he thrived under Tom Thibodeau's coaching scheme. For some reason, at least right now, because it's too early to throw on the flag and be like he's not getting it, but there seems to be a lot of discomfort. He has career lows and points in minutes. The minutes is because he just can't stay on the damn floor. He averages 4 fouls a game. And that's been a part of his Achilles heel all year long for the Knicks. And you need that secondary guy aside from Brunson. You know, if Brunson happens to have an off game. Now, we all know Brunson is just a menace when it comes to the playoff time. But you do need, and this is no knock on Karl-Anthony Towns, but, you know, Batman needs Robin. You know, he needs to be that 1A for the New York Knicks. So I don't know what's going on, but he has to be a factor now and moving forward for if the Knicks even intend to get a strong postseason run. Karl-Anthony Towns is so crucial for that to happen. Obviously, you got Bridges and Anunoby. That's also big contributors. I don't think Josh Hart gets talked about enough as far as, you know, the theoretics and just the talent that he brings for this New York Knicks team. But I do think Karl-Anthony Towns, and it starts tonight against his Pistons team. He needs to show some toughness. He needs to go out there, grab 20 points. Isaiah Stewart is not there. Jalen Duren, we all know he's coming back from injury. He's not 100%. Give me 20 and 12 rebounds. I don't see why there's a reason why he can't do that. But he is a contributing factor for this New York Knicks team moving forward for this deep playoff run.
No, I agree. Let me touch on just a couple of the points that you made. Yeah, I totally agree that, you know, Sochan and Alvarado will bring, you know, a similar flavor to that New York grit that we had back in the 90s. Not at the same level because, you know,
of course not.
Mason and Oakley and Big Pat and them guys, they just cut from a different cloth. But, you know, Alvarado definitely a hometown guy, and he looks like he definitely loved, you know, he loves to wear that uniform. The couple of games that I saw him play so far, he looks like he's going to relish in that moment. So I think he's going to be big for us. We'll see if Sochan actually gets, you know, into the, you know, the lineup and play some games, if he can produce what Mike Brown is looking for. Now with Towns, you know, listen, Towns, you know, he does get a lot of flack, but, you know, I think Towns, he does play physical. He just needs to pick and choose the spots. I think Brunson needs to do a better job of facilitating a little bit more for him to get involved in our lineup in the offense. If you notice, a lot of times you'll see some, a lot of the ball screens and stuff like that is being ran by Brunson and Josh, who I do think is phenomenal as well, in the lineup. Towns, I just think he still hasn't figured out how to really be, 100% effective in the offense because the ball is still in Brunson's hand a lot. However, last year, Tibbs was able to do a good job to keep Towns engaged, and Towns definitely needs to get engaged. He needs to get at least 4 or 5 touches, per quarter, so he can do some things, and hopefully that'll help him to make some better decisions. I see sometimes them running drives. They're good with bigs, but when you got like a wing or a small guy on you, try to get it on one of them low blocks, man, so you can probably go to work or something, or maybe even at the top of the key, and then, just do a turn, jump hook or something.
Right.
So I do think Towns, he I agree with all your points in terms of Towns. He needs to be that secondary scorer, like, more efficient. And like you said, his efficiency, his numbers are down. Hopefully he can pick it up. Now tonight, like you said, is going to be a big test. The thing is, them wings is going to come out hard on Brunson and try to stifle him like they've been doing these past couple of games. I think this is a good opportunity for Brunson to do a little bit more facilitating to get Towns involved, because them guys, they can't check Towns. I don't know if OG is going to be back, but we're going to need some scoring tonight. And if Brunson try to come out and just go super hard out the gate, before you kind of see how they D'ing him up, we might need to go to Towns, a little bit earlier to get him started. And then Brunson could get a chance to kind of see how they intend to guard him tonight. So how do you think Brunson can do a little bit better with how Detroit's been D'ing him up? Because they've been stifling him with all them wings.
Well, I think it goes to the point that you're making as far as him. Well, first and foremost, Brunson has to be in a spot where he has to be more with the on-ball screens. New York has a lot of good wing shooters, and obviously Miles McBride, he's not going to come back due to the core muscle surgery, but you still got a lot of guys that can knock down threes. You got Josh Hart who can knock down threes. You got Landry Shamet. Listen, there's nothing more that you can say about what Landry Shamet has brought to this team.
Sure.
He was the last pick when they were constructing the roster, and he wasn't even scheduled to make the roster because that roster spot was expected to go to Malcolm Brogdon until Brogdon decided to retire.
Thanks.
So, listen, the Knicks are top 5 in the league in three-pointers made. It's time to start doing what you were supposed to do, what you're meant to do. Execute the key points, hit the wings, and hit these guys for threes. They're going to hit them. Landry has averaged 2.5 threes a night. And before I continue my assessment of that, just to answer your question, OG Anunoby right now is considered, he was just upgraded to probable for tonight's game against Detroit with the toe injury. So it looks like that, as far as OG Anunoby's service for tonight, will be a game time decision. But again, you got to hit these ball screens. And what I noticed, not only that, it's just that he gets doubled a lot. So you got to be able to hit these guys in a wing. And there's one thing to hit these guys in a wing and see the passes. You also have to ultimately knock these shots down. And you got to get, like you said, Karl-Anthony Towns has to get his touches. I think as good as Jalen Duren is, I think physically he's no match for Karl-Anthony Towns. There's no reason why Karl-Anthony Towns can't have a 20-point, 12-rebound night tonight. So I think Brunson's stat line, I think I'll be okay with him having 23 points. And I think they win the game if he has 23 points and 8 assists. He's averaging close to 6 assists a game. So I think once he executes that and see what Detroit is throwing at them, I think it's going to lead up to more touches and more opportunities for players like Shaman and Towns and even Hart. We'll see what's the status of OG Ananobi come game time. But
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point too. Even Hart, with Brunson, you know, Hart can run the offense a little bit. Because the last two games I noticed, man, Brunson had a hard time with the wings, and it was just the way they was lining them up. It's like they were all paying attention to Brunson, so they were like really anticipating them initiating and forcing the offense. So if we can get Brunson off ball a little bit, just mix it up a little bit, that way, because Towns didn't play the last game.
correct.
So they can they can really exploit some things this game. Even if OG doesn't play, they'll be at home, so they should be able to hit some shots. They couldn't hit anything the last game, man.
They couldn't hit nothing.
And they had some really good open shots too that they missed.
It was one of the most abysmal performances I've seen. I'm talking about if they would have threw the ball in the ocean, they would have missed. It was really, really bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. But I think those are the keys to tonight's game and just them moving forward. Try to, like you said, try to get Karl-Anthony Towns a little more acclimated with the offense. We all know what Josh Hart is going to do. But another thing is, he's got to stay out of foul trouble, man. Like I told you a little while ago. And it's the silliest foul. He averages 4 fouls a game, two offensive fouls a game. Now, I guess for big guys, when it comes to driving and spotting, it's more mental than it is physical as far as extending your arms to try to make a play. But that's something that he's got to clean up because Mitchell Robinson is not a guy that's going to play back-to-back games, at least not what we have seen this year. Now, he comes in and brings that jolt of energy. Yes, he does. He averages 8 rebounds off the bench. However, he's not a guy that's going to give you buckets. That's just not his game. Which is why Karl-Anthony Towns, not only his consistency, more of his availability. As far as being on the floor aside Brunson, taking the load off of Brunson as far as the defensive schemes that teams are going to throw at him. And let's face it, teams are now figuring out Brunson's hot spots and what seems to bother him. And what seems to bother him is a taller and a peskier defender. We've seen it the past couple of games towards the end of the first half. So, again, the Knicks have to find a way to get other players involved, and it has to be a contributing effort because once Brunson is out of the equation and then you have the core in its entirety struggling to hit shots, then it creates matchup nightmares. And if there's any knock that I have personally for the Knicks team is that they just seem to struggle when they're going against a more physical and peskier type of team. And that's exactly what the Detroit Pistons bring to you on a nightly basis.
That's true. Yeah, and the other thing too, sometimes when I watch these games and I see how they come with other opponents, they kind of go to their first action. Sometimes I wonder if they're just kind of just seeing how different teams are playing them. But usually, like you said, when everybody gets involved, the offense flows a lot better. And even with Brunson, sometimes, he'll see how they're playing him and he'll either get off the ball early or, he'll just kind of, I don't know, it just seems a little weird sometimes. But tonight, I think is just a really good opportunity because we got to beat these boys tonight, man. Tonight,
it's a must win, and it's very rare that you see that in a regular season game, but I would consider that a must win.
Yeah, they punked us 2 times. We in the Garden. Alvarado didn't play the last game, and I think tonight he's definitely going to bring some energy off the bench. which is going to be very useful to kind of help pump these guys up. We was very shorthand last game, by the way.
Yes, that is correct.
And we were not hit, right? Shorthand, poor, transition defense, and we weren't hitting shots, and we just got blown out the water. Tonight, I think they can really kind of, just kind of tone it down and play their offense and play better defense. Because Mitch didn't play last game either. So last game, I think Brunson was just kind of seeing how they're playing him, and they stifled him. I think he's going to mix it up tonight, man. So I'm looking to see more of the facilitate Brunson tonight. I really am. I think he might go for double-digit assists tonight, man.
Okay, all right. I can see that happening. We do have to take into account, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and it's not making an excuse for this Knicks team at all, but I think the following game they had just finished one of their best victories of the season when they went double overtime against Denver.
Oh yeah, that was Denver. Yeah, that was the second game off of a back-to-back. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna say that played dividends, but it is a double overtime game, and it was a very gritty game. I remember me and my fiance, we had just left. She took me to see Michael Jackson on Broadway, which is an amazing, amazing show.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about
it. Was amazing, absolutely amazing. But go check that out. We were at a Chick-fil-A. We saw the first two overtimes. It was just nothing short but of immaculate. But listen, let's say OG Anunoby is out. You have Bridges, who is averaging 18 points a game the past 10 games. His scoring has gone up since OG has been out. You pay the guy $150 million to have moments like that.
Right.
Josh Hart, like I said, doesn't get talked enough about. He has a tendency of being a walking triple-double nowadays.
Yeah.
Which I think 3-4 years ago, nobody on earth would have said that about Josh Hart. But he is who he is for this Knicks team, and they just seem like they flourish better with his availability. So,
right.
For the Knicks, on top of the points and bulletins that both myself and you have pointed out, is consistency, being able to knock down these shots, and being able to Brunson being able to find these passes, whether it's the backdoor cuts or find these spot up wing shooters like Landry Shamet, Bridges, and Josh Hart, just to name a few.
Yeah, and even throwing Sohan in there just to get some defense. It looks like tonight. Bring some of that grit back. This is going to be a live game tonight. It's going to be. I'm looking forward to a really good defensive game because the Knicks really have to bring that defense tonight.
Yes, sir. Bobby, thank you so much for your call.
For sure. Anytime, man.
Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure chatting Knicks. I'm going to keep checking in, and I'll probably call in again sometime later on in the season as we get close to the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
All right, Eddie.
All right, I appreciate you.
All right, bless you, man.
Yes, sir. Hell of a Knicks fan. Guy knows ball. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about All-Star Weekend. Now, I got to hand it to the NBA. This was probably the best All-Star Weekend I've seen since 2019. Even the dunk contest was better than 2019. I remember I was with my brother at a local bar on Park Slope. Amazing bar. They have this amazing cheeseburger with candy bacon. Let me not get out of hand, but you guys understand the point I'm trying to make. And this is when Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon were going head-to-head in the dunk contest. Probably one of the best dunk contests I've ever seen. It was so good, so amazing. But I like the way they constructed it. I don't know if it was maybe the flashes and the glamour that Los Angeles brings, but if you're the NBA, this was a pretty good All-Star Saturday, for the most part. I think we got to shout out the Knicks for winning the Shooting Stars competition. Calling details Jalen Brunson, and Allen Houston. Allen Houston, mate, he still got that sweet jump shot. Allen Houston growing up, as far as like shooting ability, as far as the best shooters I see, as far as having jump shot ability, him and Ray Allen are the sweetest jump shots I've ever seen. It's poetry in motion with those guys. So shout out to those three guys for taking the Shooting Stars trophy there. 3-point shootout. I mean, listen, can we just shout out Damian Lillard, man? I mean, I'll be honest, I was a little biased as far as the 3-point competition because, as you guys know, I am a big Duke guy. So I was going for my guy, Con Canepo. But a part of me was like, you know what? I hope Damian Lillard at least has some sort of joy and some sort of appreciation with this season. Obviously, this is a lost season as he continues to recover from the torn Achilles that he suffered last year with Milwaukee. But the fact that this man went out there, all eyes were on him, considering the fact that he has had no playing time of any sort this year. He has not played a game this year. He will not play a game this year. To go out and have the performance that he did and win the 3-point contest was one of the most amazing things that I've seen in sports. And I've obviously, I've covered sports for 15 plus years. I've been watching it all my life, but watching what he did, performing the way he did, seeing that nostalgic number 0 on the Portland uniform was just so amazing, man. It was so good to see him in a Blazers uniform. And for him to perform like that, man, was amazing. 3 times winning the 3-point shootout. Now, I have to just put it out there. We need Steph Curry and Damian Lillard in a 3-point contest. At least one more before they call it quits. So, you guys can like this, share this to Steph Curry, share this to Dame Dollar. Let's make it happen. Let's promote this like a boxing match. Let's get Damian Lillard. Let's get Con Canepo. Let's get Klay Thompson. Let's get Steph Curry in the same 3-point shootout competition for next year. Let's make it happen. The dunk contest was crap. That's the best way I can see it. It was horrendous. It was egregious. It was just really, really, really bad. You had a guy who made a dunk and almost cracked his head open, Jace Richardson from Orlando. That was scary. But it's just, you're seeing the same dunks. The creativity is not there. The excitement is not there. And I think this is the first year, well, I mean, at least not to me, but you're now starting to hear more noise about, damn, maybe we should take this off the menu as far as All-Star Saturday. Now, as a fan, I'm saying hell no. Please not. Please do not do this. But a part of me would understand if the NBA decides to conclude the slam dunk contest. Now, I got a theory that I want to share with you guys. And you can tell me whether it's, 3 minutes that we have left on the show, or you could hit me up on my Instagram and let me know what you guys' thoughts. And I think I told this, the only person that I've shared this so far was my fiance. So I'm going to share this to the world now. You take 4 of your top-tier dunkers in the NBA. Obviously, I would love Zion Williamson and John Morant to be a part of that. I don't know. 4 dunkers. Let's just say some of the best YouTube dunkers in the world. You have them go head-to-head. Okay, yeah, you don't know them, but this is a platform to see creativity and excitement. And that's what the dunk contest is all about. Because the dunks that I saw, I don't know what, and I'm telling you, Dwight Howard needs to be checked out. I must have told that like 3 or 4 times to my fiance. He needs to be checked out because the dunks that I saw that he was going around giving 48s and 49s to, I said, what the hell is this guy looking at? I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. You get these guys together, a round robin series or whatever, however the NBA decides to go with this. Have them go head to head. Cash prize, $2 million. What gets top tier players motivated more than incentives? Why not? You got 4 players of the top tier dunkers. You got 4 top NBA dunkers. Have them go head to head. Final 2, cash prize, $2 million. NBA, make it happen because I cannot watch this crap no more. The dunk contest is becoming a joke. It almost seems like it should be going first before the shooting stars and the 3-point competition. NBA, let's get it together, guys. Share this. Let's get Adam Silver to see this and see if this is good. But I think it's a fascinating idea to at least bring life back into the slam dunk competition because it hasn't been the same since 2019. Guys, I want to thank you guys for showing up every week around this time as you do. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join me in for next episode next Thursday, 5 Eastern. Call-ins always available. Thank you guys. Much love, and I'll see you guys in the next one.